Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hosting here Mr. Stefanos Protopsaltis, I would say the head of OED, but they've changed the title of the organization to express in a better way the mission of the organization that is present here. Our discussion is supposedly related to supply and demand of skills, but Mr. Protopsaltis is surprising us again, and I would like to start, first of all, by presenting the organization. We believe that it's going to fill in the gap of the talent paradox. In Greek, in English, whatever. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation to this very interesting panel, this very interesting discussion that you're organizing here in Thessaloniki. I visited the Greek, the Hellenic industry of vehicles. We have cooperated. We are cooperating with the new owners of the organization who are transforming the company from a dysfunctional public-owned company to a functional privately owned company. The paradox here in a company with 2, 3, 4% unemployment, you would expect the discussion, but in a country with a high rate of unemployment, you understand that we have a very serious problem. This is very well pictured on the European risk index. So this is not anecdotal. It is true. We have a significant problem of skills in Greece. Why? Because we have a deficient interconnection between the training and educational system in the country with the needs of the economy. To put it very simply, we overproduced graduates in specializations with a low demand, and we underproduce graduates in specializations with high demand. So what should we do? We should invent on a qualitative upskilling of our labor force. We have spent hundreds of millions of euros in training, but we have these very unpromising results. What does that mean? If you spend and you have this result, you don't do it right. You don't invest on people, you just spend money. So we're trying to change that. What is the opportunity of the Recovery and Resilience Fund, where we have proposed a very ambitious project where 1.1 billion euros are going to be invested on the upgrading, upskilling of the workforce, but this investment is going to be accompanied by a structural reform of the training system. Your last guest talked about qualitative training, so it's not enough to train. This training must have a result in the labor force. In the labor market, the person who was trained found a job. If they had a job already, was there an increase in their productivity? Is the employer satisfied with what the employee learned? So that's what we've been trying to do through the recovery plan. And in April, we passed a law from the Ministry of Labor, which for the first time creates a system of evaluation of training providers, a national skills register, and a national strategy for skills, so that we train in areas where we have a demand. And for the first time, we're going to supervise and monitor the outcomes of training across the country, so that we evaluate and improve the system. So significant initiatives in the right direction. 1.2, 1.1, 1.2 billion is a lot of money, but through the reform that this is going to supplement this, so that the money goes to the right place, so that we have substantial outcomes in training, and we managed to narrow the skills gap that everybody's talking about. In this reform, I'm sure there will be some thought about the consultation and all the stakeholders who are involved in this, both the private sector and the public sector and the civil society, special personalities, so that everybody is involved, not just everybody be involved, but and say the view, but also take their views into consideration, because we have this complaint. In the National Employment Service, we had a very large board of directors, a 17-member, with many representatives from civil society. We're going to go to a more flexible and smaller board. So we're creating a board of civil partners who are going to bring their voices in the discussion. We're creating a scientific committee which is going to support our work, and at the same time we are starting a public dialogue and a consultation about the drawing up of this national project. We have a very good cooperation with the Chamber on many different sectors of mutual interest, and we've have a policy of open doors. Whoever wants to come to us, discuss with us, bring forward proposals, we have opened our doors. As you know, in the past few months we have discussions and cooperations with Amazon, Google, Cisco, etc. That was something that the National Employment Service didn't do in the past, and through this extroversion we tried to cooperate, exchange views, and adopt the best possible view so that we move forward. I fully agree with you, but at the same time we should be focused on our target, which is the final outcome. That is, dialogue, consultation and process are very important, but at the same time what is important at the end of the day is the result. Exactly, and that's why we have to have this process, but also evaluate after doing things, because in Greece we may take into consideration all participants. We may set up a strategy whose quality, of course, will be proven through its results. It's not just created. And I don't know how focused we are on that talent. It's not that it's missing from the private sector, but also from the public sector. How do we evaluate these efforts? Because we usually have an ambition when we make strategic projects, from my experience in Greece, to have the perfect plan across the country to be the best, and we avoid the pilot things, because pilot things help us evaluate. What you're saying is important. We should try new things, and pilot actions allow us to undertake risk without overexposure and without risking failure. So what we're trying to do is create pilot actions where we try new things, and we've put that in the recovery plan, but at the same time we try to make reform on a horizontal level. So we try to adopt a culture of constant, of perpetual improvement. This is our mentality. This should be our mentality. There is no perfection. There is no perfect achievement. And that's what we're trying to do. We try to do better every day, step by step, and self-evaluate. In our association, we didn't have a self-evaluation for the projects. It's just an absorption. Absorption doesn't mean performance. Does the trained person, find a job? Do they stay in the job after the training? We shouldn't be afraid of evaluation. If something is really working, we should do it more. If something is not working, we should stop doing it. As simple as that. And that's what we have tried to introduce in our culture. And since you mentioned that the change of name, that's what it means, a transformation, a shift from a bureaucratic organization which focused on grants to an organization which focuses on active employment policies, how to help people find a job, because this is our final target. So you're going to hire consultants. We have hired 500 contracts on a 2-year basis, so we increase the number of our consultants in the past 2 months. Digitization, also very important. Digital tools is something that we have invested on greatly. Technology is running really fast, is moving forward very fast. Kyriakakis will not leave us behind. Unfortunately, in the pandemic, something was positive is the leaps that we managed to achieve compared to what we had in the past years. And this unfortunately shows you that sometimes only in an emergency can you do things that should have been done gradually. If there is no emergency, you won't really move. You won't get up and move. If I want to lose weight, then I will start working out. Otherwise, no. You're doing quite a lot of work, but what about the people? Are they going to have lifelong learning, or are you preparing others and you're not doing that in your own organization? The most important capital of the city is of the country is the human capital. This is the most important asset. It's people. And as there is a lack in upskilling, it's the same in our organization. We haven't invested in upskilling. That's what I'm saying. In my generation, the generation of my people, the model is you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, and after 30, 40 years, you you retire. This is dead. We should all learn constantly. The idea that at 22 years I graduate and I do nothing, I learn nothing after that is dead. We should all understand that we have to constantly learn new things because things are changing at a very rapid pace. And unfortunately, in the public sector in Greece, we haven't made the necessary training and upskilling in our personnel so that they have the necessary skills that are demanded by a contemporary public administration. We are doing things in this field because this is something that is very important both in the public and the private sector. We must invest, and I see many businesses that are present here. We are lagging behind in business training, in-house business training. Greek businesses don't invest on their human capital. They see that as an expense, as a waste of money. And what about the money of other funds? This money is resources managed by the civil partners for training. If you see what they're used for, they haven't been used as they should have been used. So what is that telling us? I'm a very optimistic person by nature. This is an alarm bell and we have a government who wants to make changes, to make reforms so that the country moves forward. We have a support the Recovery and Resilience Fund. We have to use it in order to turn the page. I have been working with the unemployed and the businesses at the same time. Quite often I see behaviors that are very difficult both in supply and demand. So at some point we must all say that we have to change to be better, to be modernized, more modernized, and see things in a completely different perspective. How we're going to do long-term unemployed to want to work, because I'm not saying that they have to get the skills, but first we have to make them want to go back to work. I had a discussion with some people. It's very complicated. Some people have been out of work for so long and they're psychologically not in a position to go into the labor market, and the role of the state is to help reverse that trend. At the same time, however, we have to change bad behaviors. For example, the law that I talked about. If, for the first time, if you deny a job for 3 consecutive times that are close to your skills, you will be taken out of the unemployed register. At the same time, we give tools, a bonus for 300 euros for the long-term unemployed who want to be further trained, and some other incentives. And I heard about the initiative of the European Union for individual learning accounts. We have this in the Recovery Fund. It was in the law. We will be one of the first countries who will implement that. France is in the vanguard. The individual skills account, it is a funding tool for training, but it's also a portfolio in which you will put together skills, trainings, and other things that you do so that it's a tool for employability. We should also measure the distance each one has traveled. Okay, I'm going to train you, you get in, great. But it's not that simple. There are projects that we monitor and we evaluate the distance the unemployed has covered. And we discussed that some time ago. I don't know where we stand at the moment. We have 900 unemployed in our register. They're not all the same. Some have been unemployed for 6 years, 6 months or 6 years. Some don't have many skills and qualifications. Other are graduates and they have a degree and they find it difficult for people to give them a first opportunity. We have 2/3 of the unemployed who are women. There are women who leave the labor market to bring up their children, and then they find it difficult to get back in. We have a huge problem with age discrimination. In Greece, unfortunately, many businesses, if you're over 50, 55, they don't even look at your CV. And then we have a problem with the young people. They don't want, people don't want to give the first opportunity to young people. And they ask them what experience they have. But if you don't give them an opportunity, how are they going to get an experience? And here we have the framework of training, the chamber. We have created a training program. This is a very important initiative. And secondly, we should have a a unified plan. And how are we going to have small businesses to do a correct induction? So you have new people. What do you say? How do you say it? Do you have a proposal for that? We are doing many projects, and now we have one for 10,000 young unemployed people for 7 months. It is fully funded, and we're telling businesses hire young unemployed people. We're going to cover the entire cost. Why? Because we want to give these people an opportunity for 7 months to gain experience. We have 50 training schools, vocational schools that have the apprenticeship program of Germany. Unfortunately, many companies don't have this culture of participating in apprenticeship. We have planning. This is also very important. Unfortunately, many of these things take time. We try to do our schools more attractive, our programs more attractive, so that more companies participate. And we've started something interesting recently, Career Day, that is all over the world. We've had 6 careers days. We're going to have the 7th in the town of Volos. We're going to have people from the business world and people who are unemployed. We have you will give the opportunity to businesses to get many CVs, and we give the opportunity to people who are looking for jobs to have discussions with a number of companies. So we are using different tools in order to achieve our goals. Quite often, I have observed that people need, regardless of age, to hear about vocational or career counseling. This is a life counseling for me that will help me understand some interesting things about myself, give me some courage. People also call it coaching, this career counseling, but I think sometimes I don't like the change of terms. Is your service promoting such actions so the people, children, the world, the parents, because they also have a share in this responsibility? The truth is that this is a responsibility of the Ministry of Education, because this is undertaken in schools. But that doesn't mean that the Ministry of Labor and other organizations don't have a role to play. We have career liaison officers, and we have associations with schools. Some are working well, some aren't. We should say things as they stand, not present the best possible picture. When young people come to us, they already know what they want to do. When people come to us, they've already entered a career path. But people have changed, yes. But we do a lot of coaching, a lot of mentoring. This is very successful in entrepreneurship. This is very important. We have a very large percentage of self-employed. Yeah, because people don't want someone over their heads telling them what to do. So we help young people start their own business. So we gave 3,000 young people from 18 to 25 years of age 15,000 euros, 555, beginning, middle, and end of the project, to set up their business after evaluating their business plans. Many of them they had coach and mentoring before they entered the project. What was very good for us, very positive, was that we wanted to have 60% of women funded for the projects. We had 70% women. So we've supported them in that way for them to do something in the business world for young people, as we said. So mentoring and coaching to businessmen, to employers, so that they understand that their human capital is their most important asset. I think this is something that is done by civil partners. They understand the significance of that. From CERT, SEVER, the Industries Association, to talk to their members about how important it is to invest in their human capital of in-house training, and the fact that we're lagging behind. The change of mentality takes time, let's be honest. Some things are going to take time to change. But I believe that the combination of incentives that are coming to this direction and the new tools, together with reforms and the will on the part of the government, will accelerate these changes. So I believe that gradually, and because of the global trends, that of course we are all part of this global economy, some things are now taking life in our country. Do you believe that the response of companies to this study that we set up together to see what they're missing in order to set up the right projects? We wanted to have more participation. The truth is, it's very important for all these events. You've been to hundreds similar events where we discuss these things. We acknowledge and identify more or less the same things. We say what we should do. But what is very important is after these events to have accountability. What do we do after that? Have we transformed what we discussed into specific actions and activities? And I think we should grade ourselves. Perhaps we wouldn't even be graded with a B. So sometimes we have participation and we have the will, but then when we come to the actual work, then we have a drop in participation. I believe that we shouldn't create people who will be disciplined, but create people who have their own values, and then it will be easier for them to be self-disciplined. They will say that this was my goal, my target. It wasn't forced on me by somebody else. So this is a great part of culture change, both for the employed and the employees, both for the unemployed and the state organizations, to be consistent with our dreams and our ambitions. A last question. What would you like to announce to us next year as a success? What will make you happy in the next year's index for skills? I would like to have a better performance of the country, to have a reduction of our unemployment, an increase of employment. I would definitely want to see more participation and qualitative vocational training, which is really lagging behind in Greece. We have huge deficits there, and I would like to hear less complaints from the companies who find it difficult to find specialized, skilled personnel. I think this is a great bet in our country. It's a long structural problem of the Greek labor market, and we should do something. Qualitative upskilling training and reskilling training is, I think, a very important tool to solve that. Thank you very much. I thank you. We are together once again.